Welcome to Charlene's World. I wanted to do this segment in regards to bankruptcy for the people. You've grown up with me for all of your years. You've heard me talk about it many times.
Yes.
So you're very familiar with it. However, I wanted you, because you haven't filed bankruptcy ever, I wanted you to be able to ask me some questions and that they would typically ask, and this way I can do a Q&A. So before I do anything, I'm going to let you know my disclaimer. For those of you who are watching, I am not a lawyer of any sort. I'm a paralegal turned legal document preparer. So I cannot give you legal advice, and I am not giving you legal advice. And so with that, I'm going to start with the last video that I recorded and posted on YouTube. I mentioned that bankruptcy derived from the Bible. So I want to read that verse, that scripture real quickly before we start the Q&A. Deuteronomy chapter 15 verse 1. It says, "At the end of every 7 years you must cancel debt. This is how to cancel debt. Every creditor is to cancel what he has lent his neighbor. He is not to collect anything from the neighbor or brother, because the Lord's release of debt had been proclaimed. You may collect something from a foreigner, but you must forgive whatever your brother owes you." So I wanted to say that because yesterday I mentioned that bankruptcy is a comes from the Bible. So those of you who are religious or Christian, or you follow your religion and you believe in God, um, it's in the Bible. All right. So we're going to go with the questions now. I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible so that you're not bored to death. So go ahead, Dominique. Also, by the way, Dominique is one of my daughters, and she's helping us out today just so I can get this information out to you guys. So, what's your first question, Dominique?
All right. So first question we have, what is
So, bankruptcy, and I'm going to read from the Wikipedia. Can you still see me?
yes.
It says bankruptcy is a legal process through which people or other entities who cannot repay debt to creditors may seek relief from some or all of their debts. In most jurisdictions, bankruptcy is imposed by a court order, often initiated by the debtor. So the debtor meaning you, the person who's actually wanting to file the bankruptcy. So that is, in a nutshell, is what bankruptcy is. Now, the way I can explain it, and it's my experience because I've done a bankruptcy.
Which
Right, most people want what people have gone through, not what the book says. They want to know from people who've done it, right? Been there, done it. So I've done it, and for me, bankruptcy was definitely a relief. I think my first time filing bankruptcy, I think I had maybe 50,000 in debt, and that was with me and your dad. We had a house, we had a mortgage, we had a car, finance, we had 3 children, we had a dog, we had lots of bills.
Mhm.
And because we were getting ready to get divorced, or I was going to file for divorce, I told him, let's clear up this debt so that none of us have to leave with debt.
Yeah.
So we did that. I didn't know much about it when I did it. I just did it with a lawyer. I gave him all the information that he requested, paid the fee, and next thing I knew, I had to show up at court. And that's it. I didn't know anything about bankruptcy. I just knew bankruptcy was a way to get debt relief, and I just followed the lead of the attorney. Not a bad thing, but I was young and dumb, and I did it and got myself back in bankruptcy 10 years later.
Right.
So that's another story.
Yeah.
But I did it for that purpose. I didn't want to continue paying on debt that wasn't mine, and I didn't have the funds to pay all of that stuff off
Mhm.
with a mortgage and a car note and 3 children.
Mhm.
So that was a great thing for me. My debts got discharged, and I was able to live freely, so all over again with life. And it was a beautiful thing.
Nice. I do have a follow-up question. In your personal opinion, why do you feel the term bankruptcy or the stereotype behind bankruptcy, why do you feel it's so negative? What are the myths that you hear so often from clients that made them really resistant or hesitant to start the process?
Well, that's a great question, Dominique. For one, the myth back then was if you file bankruptcy, you'll never get credit again. And that's not true. You're able to buy a car immediately after your bankruptcy discharge. You're able to buy a house 2 years after your bankruptcy discharge. You're able to get credit cards immediately. So there's nothing stopping you from living life, right? Life doesn't stop because you file bankruptcy. Another myth is people know that you file bankruptcy. No one knows you file bankruptcy. Now we know Donald Trump filed bankruptcy many times, right? Because before he was this, he has Trump Towers. He's a big mogul in New Jersey. He had lots of assets, right? So when he filed, yeah, the world knew because he's like celebrity
Right.
person, right? He became president. So knew because he was of that status, right? But everyday people like you and I,
Mhm.
no one knows that we filed bankruptcy unless we tell them, right? Only person who knows you filed is you and the person who prepared your petition. That's it. You and the lawyer, or you and the paralegal, or you and the legal document preparer, or you did it on your own.
Okay.
No one knows besides you and that person. Another myth is that the bankruptcy stays on your credit report for 10 years. I believe I read somewhere that it changed to 8 years, but whether it's 8 years or 10 years, it does not stop you from living your life.
Right.
You can still get a job. You can still rent an apartment. You could buy a house 2 years later. You could still get a car. You could still rent a car.
Yeah.
You could still business. Credit cards. Like
Life.
life, it's
Yeah.
on your report, but it's not stopping you from living life in
Yeah.
the best way possible.
Because I didn't have the knowledge that I got from you because you are a legal document preparer. So all the information I know regarding like divorces and bankruptcy and all this other stuff is from you. But if I didn't know that from just like people, when you hear the word bankruptcy, you think it's like a negative stamp on your forehead, like knows, like my God, like filed for bankruptcy, like this.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that you're raising awareness and letting people know, like, no, it's
not at all.
people won't know, keep it low key, keep it discreet, and you get your life back because um now inflation is crazy and people don't really have it like that. So you can
Living check to check.
pretty much. So it's like just nice to know that there's people like you that out there that provide the service to people to allow them to kind of in because you're not
Yeah,
living right now. If you're living, it's tell me what you're doing because we
right.
yeah.
You're absolutely right. I think first video I mentioned that bills, debt can cause so much headaches.
Hmm.
It can crush a relationship. You could lose your home. You may have to pack up your stuff and move into your parents' house, right? I know people that are living in their parents' basement. It's not unheard of. It's the norm, right? There is a way out, and I think people shy away from doing the bankruptcy because of all the bad things they heard about it. But I'm here to tell you, baby, that it works. I'm not saying to use it to manipulate the government. I'm not saying to abuse it to get over. I'm saying if your back is up against the wall and you have a lot of debt and you income isn't making enough to take care of your regular household bills and maintain the debt that you owe, yeah, we know you owe it, right? And we know that you pay your bills on time. But sometimes things happen, a death, taking care of an elderly parent, special needs children, things, you lost your job, the business fell through. Anything can happen. So I try to educate where I can
I
about
just appreciate
bankruptcy.
it. All right, so to get back on track, the next question: can I file bankruptcy even though I'm married?
Excuse me. Yes, you could be married or single and file bankruptcy. The only information that we require of bankruptcy requires of your spouse is income. So we need the household income, not your income, to do a bankruptcy. So if it's just you and your household, then we just need your income. If you and your husband live in the same household and you file bankruptcy,
Hmm.
you're filing bankruptcy, but we need the household income because the bills you share. the expenses you share. So it has to be included so that we know how the money is being dispersed from your income and your partner's income and how it makes up the household.
Okay. Let's take it a step further. So say I'm unemployed, but my husband works. So in that situation, I would be my husband's income for my bankruptcy.
Good question. Yes.
Okay.
So again, household income. You're a homemaker and he works outside the home.
Hmm.
His finances, debt, credit is good. Yours is jacked up, for lack of words. So you want to file bankruptcy so you can get back on track, get your life back.
Hmm.
So you'll file bankruptcy. Everything's under you.
Okay.
Only thing that we're adding to the mix is the household income.
Okay.
You don't have income, but how are you being taken care of, right? By your husband. So we take your husband's income.
Okay. He's not
Okay.
by it at all. It's my.
Only thing we want is his income. That's it.
Sounds
No
good.
social security number, no bills. We don't need his name,
Okay.
his birthday. We don't need none of that.
For the people in the back, in case they're not. Okay. All right. So next, I'm 19 years old and I have debt. Can I file bankruptcy?
Yes, you can be 18 years old and have debt, all the way up to 110 if you live that long. You
Hmm.
can file bankruptcy.
Okay. I have a house that's financed. Can I keep my house and can I keep my car?
So in a bankruptcy, you can keep your house providing that you're current with your payments. If you're currently late, you're current on your payments, no issues, and
Hmm.
you file a bankruptcy, and in the bankruptcy, you tell the court that you still want to keep your house, then in the petition, that would be noted that you want to keep the house and
Okay.
continue making those payments.
Okay.
Now, once you file the bankruptcy, the lender for the mortgage will reach out to you by letter by US mail and send you a reaffirmation agreement. That's pretty much in a nutshell in layman terms is, well, I know Mr. Jones, you filed for bankruptcy, but you have a mortgage with us. I see that you also want to keep the house and continue making the payments because you are current. Well, we need you to sign this reaffirmation agreement to state that you are still keeping the house and you're still gonna make your monthly payments as you were doing before. Like bankruptcy has nothing to do with what you're doing with your house. You're still keeping the house.
Okay.
Same thing with the car. You have a finance car. You want to file bankruptcy to take care of all your other stuff,
Correct.
but you still need and want your current on making your car payments,
Okay.
right? So the lender will then send you a reaffirmation agreement for the car, and
Okay.
you'll execute that document, send it back to them, let them know that regardless that I'm filing bankruptcy, we're still keeping this car.
Okay. Since we're kind of on the same subject, say I wasn't on time with my payments for my house or my mortgage, and I missed maybe one or two car payments, and I want to file bankruptcy. How does that work? Am I still able to work a, work it and keep my stuff, or will it be taken away?
That's a great question. So I've had clients in the past that were behind on their mortgage and they still wanted to do a bankruptcy, which is fine. So we prepare the bankruptcy and we let the bank know that we want to still keep the house. Now, they owed money,
Hmm.
but we let them know that we owe you money,
Hmm.
and that amount is put in the petition that's still owed, right? You file that bankruptcy asking the bank to do the bankruptcy, but we want to still keep the house. We know we're behind in some way, form, or fashion between the lender. They will reach out to you and figure out a way. Some banks work with you to have that money paid up while you're in the bankruptcy so that you get current.
Okay.
Some will work with you and find some type of way to
Like rate.
offset the fees till later on.
Okay.
I know a lot of banks do that. I don't know for sure because I wasn't involved in that aspect and I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really tell you that.
Okay.
But there are ways that you can still file your bankruptcy
Hmm.
and still be behind typically what I tell people that come to me about that is that whatever you do, if you're filing a bankruptcy, try to at least accumulate some of that money that you owe so that you can have it readily available. That if the trustee asks if you have this lump sum, you have it so that you could pay it while the
Okay.
bankruptcy is in motion. So
Okay.
it's not impossible.
Okay.
I still say try it because
Okay.
you never know. The bank may work with you. Like the car. I had one client, she was behind on her car payment. I don't remember the name of the lender, but she was behind on her car payment. She wanted to keep the car. And what they did was they went ahead and sent her reaffirmation agreement for a lower monthly payment. So
Mm.
she didn't have to pay the payment that she was making when she first financed the car.
Okay.
They lowered it based on the income that she's receiving now and
Okay.
the fact that she's in a bankruptcy.
Okay.
They didn't want the car back, right?
Right.
It's going to cost them money to deal with that.
Right.
So they worked with her, and so she got the car with a lower payment. I'm not saying all lenders are going to do that.
Right.
You will do it. Some will work with you in different programs, but it is possible. Once they see you that you're in a bankruptcy, they may, the other cheek and say, you know what, let me see how we can work with this person to keep the house or to keep the car.
Okay. Fair. My paycheck is being garnished. Can I file?
Yeah. So the reason why your check is being garnished is because you owed somebody money. They filed a lawsuit against you. It got a default judgment against you. And because they know you're not going to freely pay that money to them,
Right.
they reached out to your employer. So now your employer is pulling money out of your paycheck every paycheck.
Hmm.
Sometimes when you first get that payment pulled out, it hurts.
Hmm.
Now people will call and say they want to do a bankruptcy because they're getting sued, and they never call me back. And then as soon as they get that letter saying that they getting garnished, they
They
want to do a
ready.
bankruptcy now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I'm not a U.S. citizen. Can I file bankruptcy?
yes, you do not have to be a U.S. citizen to file bankruptcy. So
Nice.
you could be a green card holder with a social security number, working, but lived here.
Hmm.
You could file bankruptcy.
That's nice. How long is the process?
The process usually takes between 5 and 6 months. The first 2 months is really you gathering all your documents together, meeting with your attorney, you taking your credit counseling courses, you having the bankruptcy filed, and you doing the hearing. That all happens the first 2 months of you saying, you know what, I'm going to file bankruptcy. The moment you say you're going to do that and you meet with someone, a preparer, or you do it yourself, or you meet with an attorney and you
Mhm.
pay that fee to have it started, within that 2 months, all that is being done. The last 4 months is you just waiting for the bankruptcy discharge to come in the mail to you.
Follow up question. So once, say, you have all the documentation you need to start the process of a bankruptcy, how long does it take, or how long would it take for that like process to be started? Like you have the documentation, you prepared all the whole bankruptcy, sent it to the court or whatever. That process, if someone was going to, let's say, a lawyer, how long would that process take? You know what I'm saying? Like how long would it take? Say if I wanted to file a bankruptcy, if I go to you as a preparer, from the moment you get all of my documents till we submit it to the courts, how long would you say it takes you on an average?
Okay. So on average, lawyers, because I worked for lawyers many years doing bankruptcy,
Hmm.
lawyers, remember, they get hundreds of people that call and come in for a consultation. So they're really busy. And majority of the time, their paralegals are the ones that are actually preparing the bankruptcy.
Hmm.
So if you come in and you give me all of your paperwork that's required, you paid the whole fee, it should take, law firm, maybe a week, give or take. Just depends on their workload, right?
Okay.
Been in some law firms where it took months because the person wasn't providing the documents. The lawyers don't have time to keep checking on you to bring them documents. You want the bankruptcy done, then when you give me the stuff that I need, I'll get it prepared.
Right.
So how they work in pieces. You bring in, send in stuff, you have a certain amount of documents, then we'll start your file. Or you pay a certain amount of fee, then we start your file.
Okay.
It's different, but I've worked on bankruptcy petitions for weeks, for months, just depending on if they didn't make payment, then the lawyer said, well, don't work on that file right now. Work on the ones that paid and submitted their documents.
Okay.
That's how that works. At least when I was working for them. For me as a preparer, as it's just me,
Mm-hmm.
when you give me everything, the fee and everything, I give you a list of what I need. I don't start the process until you give me everything, because my thing is it's very time consuming. It's hours of work, calculating, asking questions, confirming information, looking up stuff, researching. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as give me the paperwork and in 2 hours it's done. I could spend a week and do a bankruptcy. I could,
Mm-hmm.
but because I've done them so much, I could do them in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
6 hours on one bankruptcy, and I have all the information. I'm done, and you can have a draft. You look over the draft, you like it. I mail you the document, and you sign and file.
Sounds good. So seems like it would be more of a quicker process if you were to do it based on it just depends on the circumstances, but
Yeah,
sense
yeah,
it seems like it would be quicker with a preparer than if you were to go to a law firm considering
absolutely.
the amount of clients and the workload and all that good stuff. And plus
Yeah,
definitely a more affordable way
right.
now.
And mind you, while I'm preparing these petitions, I'm not giving any legal advice.
Correct.
I'm taking all the information that's required to be in the petition from you,
Mm-hmm.
and then I prepare it based on the information you told me
Mm-hmm.
and the paperwork that I have in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. When I
Gotcha.
give it to you, you're reviewing it for accuracy. Your
Right.
name is spelled correctly. Your social security number is correct. The job you worked at, for how long you've worked at, your income,
Mm-hmm.
those things you're reviewing,
Mm-hmm.
even your debts.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that it's prepared, you don't understand that, right? That's lingo that you don't understand. But it's prepared that way, and then you file.
Sounds good. What kind of information do I need to provide to start the process?
Good question. So, to start the process, you would need to provide a questionnaire that is given to you that breaks down everything that we need to have on the petition. If it applies to you, you complete that area. If it doesn't apply to you, you scratch it out or put not applicable so that we know you saw it, but it doesn't apply to you. You can even have a small business um, and file bankruptcy. So you'll file bankruptcy as an individual, but because it's a small thing, it's not making millions of dollars. You're not even making 100 grand, but it's a side business that you have. You can do that and incorporate some of those expenses in there as well. So I've done some of those, and the discharge of the personal assets plus the some of the business expenses. So you want to submit the questionnaire. There's an inventory sheet that you have to complete as well. That's all the things that you own. So if you own your clothes, you own the things in your household, like your bedroom set, your TV, your carpet, your mirrors. We're talking about your linens, your dishes, utensils,
So very
your
detailed.
personal hygiene. We want to know the dollar value of everything that you own. Okay. Also want 6 months of your pay stubs and 6 months of your bank statements and the last 2 years of your tax returns and your credit reports, preferably all three.
Mm-hmm.
But in some cases, clients can only get two of them to me. But I give you a link to go get all the credit reports. They send me all that information. Or if you do it through an attorney, the attorney has a way of pulling that information without you having to do that. So for me, you have to work for it. You want to do this bankruptcy, you have to work for it. You have to pull up, give me all the pay stubs, give me the tax returns, give me your the questionnaire and the inventory, and you have to pull up your credit reports, right? It's free.
Mm-hmm.
Pull it up, send it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Through the attorney, that last portion, the credit reports, they're able to quickly plug in your social security number and everything is exported from a particular program that goes into their software
Okay.
and puts in all the account numbers, how you owe into the petition. Me, hand put in Macy's account number, how much you owed, when you opened it, the address. I do all of that.
Okay.
That's why for me it takes a little bit more time, but I'm so used to doing it now
Hmm.
that it's a habit. So I'm crossing my T's, dotting my I's, and I'm making sure that everything is in there correctly the way it's supposed to.
Okay.
Those are the documents you need. Of
Okay.
course, the fee, right? Fees can be anywhere from, I've seen fees from 200 to do a chapter 7 bankruptcy, and that's the only ones that I do. This is the one I'm talking about. This platform is about chapter 7. Way up to 4,500. Yeah. Seen bankruptcies, law firms now, from law firms I'm talking about. However, just because it's cheaper doesn't mean it's better. And if you can find someone that's charging a reasonable amount, I tell people call 3 attorneys, do a consultation with them. It's free.
Hmm.
Ask all the questions you want. Find out what they charge. What's the process? And if you want to go with them, if
Right.
you think you can do it on your own, because you have the wits to do it, you read and you can research and you can figure it out, Google it, YouTube University, then do it.
Yeah.
But most people will do the consultation with lawyers, get the information, and then they'll call me because they found out about me through referral. And then when I kind of on the same thing, which is pretty much all over social media, most of the stuff that I said today,
You can look it up.
it's on. You can Google it and look it up. I'm not rocket science, but for whatever reason, when you're on a platform and you say certain things in the legal world, I could be sued for acting as a lawyer.
Hmm.
But I'm not a lawyer and I'm not acting like a lawyer. I just prepared bankruptcies and other legal documents. And because I've done a bankruptcy more than once, and I've done them for family and for friends and for co-workers and strangers, and went through the whole process with them, I could give you stories, I can give you feedback, I can give you scenarios based on that, right? My experiences, what I've gone through.
Right.
I'm not telling you that you're not going to lose your house. You
Right.
could lose your house. You could lose your car,
Hmm.
right? I'm not telling you that you can't. I'm saying that even if you have those issues or those challenges, you can still file a bankruptcy, and there's a great possibility that you'll be good.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario is you try it, it didn't work, and you're back to square one. That's the worst case scenario.
Hmm.
But you're in that scenario now. So why not try it and see if it actually works?
And just so we have some background information, you've been doing this for how long now?
I've been a paralegal for over 25 years. I've been doing bankruptcies for over 20 years.
Okay.
I've started my business 12 years ago,
Okay.
strictly preparing bankruptcies, divorces, immigration, name changes. I do some estate planning forms. I do a little bit of everything, but the bread and butter is the bankruptcy because there's so many people out there that's struggling
Hmm.
and they don't know how to get out of it.
Hmm.
And unless, like I said, most of my referrals are from people who were referred to me. That means someone worked with me on some capacity
Hmm.
and then told someone about me,
Hmm.
and then they reached out to me,
Hmm.
work with me, and I get all my referrals that way. So I don't really market or advertise. I'm a simple person. If you call me, I'm going to, if you tell me you got 50K in the bank and you want to file bankruptcy, right? I'm going to tell you no, it's not going to happen. Some shicey person will say, oh, yeah, you could file bankruptcy. I could take the money, prepare the bankruptcy, knowing that they're not going to get a bankruptcy discharge. I got my money,
Right.
right? But now they're out there in worse trouble than before,
Yeah.
right? I'm not going to do you like that.
Yeah.
I feel like your circumstances doesn't warrant a bankruptcy right now. I may tell you come back in 6 months and let's chat. Or you're holding money in your bank account for your parent. I had a guy that did that. He wanted to file bankruptcy because he lost his job. But One of his name is on a bank account with his dad. And when I asked about it, he says, "Oh yeah, my dad's money." The dad had 250K in the bank account, but the son's name was on there.
Okay.
He can't file a bankruptcy.
Yeah.
The government doesn't care that it's your father's money.
Yeah.
Your
All the
name is
kids
on
are
that account.
in the
So
husband.
you own half of that account. So you own 125,000 in the bank, but you're
Mm-hmm.
coming to file a bankruptcy? That's yeah. So I told him, I said, as much as you're in debt and you lost your job and you need help and I want to help you, I can't
Yeah.
because that's an issue.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely tell you if it can't work. Or I have lawyers that are bankruptcy lawyers. I have friends that are bankruptcy lawyers that if I have a question or if I feel like the person who's coming to me has
A con-
bizarre situation and I can't mess with that, I will refer them to those attorneys.
Okay.
So you're not stuck. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Whoever comes to you is in pretty much good hands. Either way it goes. You got the experience, you have the reviews, you have the background. So pretty much this was a good chat. I learned a lot of information. Pretty much just it's nice to know that you have options. And this is pretty much what you're trying to let people know. You have an option.
That's it. Just you have options.
Yeah, you don't have to
Don't
sit
stress yourself out. Yeah.
in it.
Well,
Um,
no, I appreciate you. Thank you for asking. Those are great questions. Thank you. And if there's a need, if someone asks for another Q&A, a little bit more in depth,
mhm.
I may be able to do that, and I will call you.
Okay.
There's just certain things that I can't
You can't.
speak on too much in detail because
Yeah.
I'll be in trouble.
Mhm.
Um, so again, this is all based
Yeah,
on my experiences.
he's just a legal documentation preparer. Just so we have that.
Correct. Yeah. Thank you, my love. I appreciate you, and I'll chat with you later.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.